Welcome to the Travel Leader Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Vandenberg. On our show, I interview and connect with leaders across travel, hospitality, and tourism. We talk leadership in our industry, what has shaped them, the successes, failures, and everything in between. Today, I'm speaking with Krystal Qi, Program Coordinator for Corporate Engagement. The Travel Leader is brought to you by the Travel Leader Coach, a leadership coaching and content company. We help established high-performing travel leaders and teams improve leadership competencies and more. Learn more at www.thetravelleadercoach.com. Wonderful. So great to see you, Krystal. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Rachel. It's such an honor to be on your podcast today.
Yes, I feel so lucky that we serendipitously met at Alice a few weeks ago, and I was just so impressed. You seemed like such a veteran out there talking to everybody and connecting with people. I hope, and I'm sure that's going to come out in our conversation today about leadership, because I think there's a lot that people can learn from your relationship skills and your networking skills. So I hope we're going to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
So to get us started and to get an understanding of your background, I'd love to know, what is the red thread throughout your career so far?
So throughout my career journey, which the red thread has been, I would say, dedication to fostering meaningful connections and delivering exceptional experiences. And it all kind of began during my time in high school. So I dropped out of high school and started working as a salesperson at a car dealership when I was 16. And nobody wanted to buy a car from a 16-year-old. I know I wouldn't. So I went to talk to another salesperson and ask him to be my counter partner. So I will wear my normal clothes to go work and start chatting with customers, like pretending I was a customer as well. And they will start telling me things that they normally wouldn't tell a salesperson. So for people who has been to a dealership or buying a car, you don't want to tell the salesperson how much you like the car or how soon you wanted the car. So I wanted to get to know what the customer really needs, because that's more important than what I have to say to them to sell the car. So customers start telling me things like, we've checked this car in 3 different dealerships. We're trying to get a better deal. Or I'm getting ready to graduate and this is my graduation gift. I'm just trying to decide which one I wanted to fit into my budget, or stuff like that. And I will text my contact partner, and then we'll kind of focus on, or like, depending on what their needs, whether it's getting a better deal for them or telling them what's the difference between this car versus the others. So by us working together, we'll get deal closed, because as a salesperson, that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to close the deal,
right?
To make commissions, So
Right.
we will try our best to fulfill the needs of the customer. And a lot of times we might not give them a better deal per se, but we can give them, like, we'll give you free customer, what do you call those, maintenance,
Like
or car wash or stuff like that to close the deal. And then I went into the education world. So I was in there for like the summer, not very long, but I had fun working in that sales experience or world. I started into taking English classes because I need to learn English before coming to the U.S. for school. And I went to an English institute where I started taking classes as a student, and soon developed a good relationship with the manager. And she hired me as a teacher's assistant. So I would help little kids to learn English or grade their homework and communicate their progressive with their parents, and soon got promoted within the company to work as an event and class planner. So I started working in a corporate world since high school, since I was 16, and I came here when I was 18 to pursue my degree in hospitality. So I started here at University of South Carolina, majoring in hospitality management and learning all the courses, and decided to work for a selected service hotel here in Columbia, South Carolina. And then I worked in all aspects of a selected service hotel in that property, and quickly realized that operation is not my thing. I call it an emotional labor. It's draining me every day, and I just couldn't see myself doing it long term. So I was getting ready to graduate and then accept my role right now as a program coordinator in the School of Hospitality, Retail, and Sport Management at University of South Carolina, where I plan career fairs, executive guest speaker forums, and like networking events, facilitating connections between students and industry professionals. And this whole career journey has not only shaped my career, but also reinforces my belief in the transformative power of genuine connections and creating that positive experience in the industry.
Yeah. Wow, what a journey. And no surprise that we landed on connections and relationships right away, knowing a little bit about you. It sounds like really that, one thing I was hearing you talk about is how you're really good at finding partners to work with, and finding someone who can support you. And the other thing I was understanding was how important it is when you're forming those relationships, and how you do that is to really understand what the needs are of the other person. And I think we often fall in this trap of thinking, like, hey, I'm going to introduce myself to someone and I'm going to tell them all about me. So I think that is really such a powerful lesson for everyone who's listening today. And I'm glad to have that reinforced for myself as well. But wow, you've come a long way to hospitality, and I know you're going to do some amazing things for sure.
Thanks, Rachel.
So how would someone you work closely with describe you as a leader?
So when I think through leadership or people that I just work closely with, I think they will probably describe me as someone who is patient, who highly values communication and effective listening. I have a genuine interest in understanding the perspective or ideas of our team members, and I try to create opportunities to open dialogues and be actively listening to others, and to better, because that's the only way you can identify their strength and preference and their areas of expertise, and also delegating tasks based on their individual strength, whether that's assigning a project that aligns with their technical skills or entrusting a task that plays to their interpersonal strength. I thrive to create a balanced workload that allows each team member to shine, and also fostering collaboration and teamwork within the team, encouraging sharing ideas, brainstorming, and leveraging each other's strength to achieve common goals. And I believe that we can achieve greater success together than we could individually.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's such a holistic view on teamwork, really, just defining what teamwork is, right? Open dialogue, collaboration, and really creating something together.
Right.
I was struck by one of the first things you talked about, which is this idea of patience. What do you think is important about patience?
It's so funny because I mentioned earlier that I work with the little kids. When I was still a kid, because I was in high school, and high school, at that age, you don't have much patience. But when you work with the little kids, and we're talking about age of like 3 to 7, in that range, you need some patience with them. And you learn a lot from them. You treat them as like adult where you have to respect them because they have their own mind and they have their own thought process. But being patient is also understanding what they're thinking, seeing what they're seeing, because you can't just think what you think is right and putting that thought onto other people by just because you think it's right, because you've done this, because your experience, whatever the case might be. And also it worked well with like active listening. You know, you have to be patient. If you can't just say you're a good listener but you're not patient. I think it comes together.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's like the idea of creating some space to fully understand what, you know, someone might need in a particular situation. I really like that. That's helpful. Who are you at your core beyond titles and the roles you play?
You know, when I saw this question, and I don't have a big title, Rachel. I'm just starting my career. You know, I'm still in grad school, but I think that I am someone who values authenticity, empathy, and continuous growth. I believe in treating others with kindness and compassion, understanding their perspectives and experience, and I am deeply passionate about personal development and learning. I always seek opportunities to expand my horizons and broaden my understanding of the world. And I am driven by a sense of purpose and a desire to make positive impact both in my professional world and also in my interactions with others. I try to lead a life guided by integrity, authenticity, and a commitment to leave the world just a little bit better than I found it. It's my goal.
That's great. What I'm hearing from you is this, which makes so much sense because of how well you connect with people, that really emphasizing the human part of it, right? Like empathy and compassion and kindness. That it doesn't surprise me that's a huge part of your character, of who you are, for sure. Because I could sense that immediately when we met, for sure. And the other part, in terms of your personal development, maybe you could identify what's something that you're working on right now in terms of your personal development.
So I am in grad school and I started my role right after I graduated from my undergraduate degree. And I have a passion in hotel development and investment. So I make sure that on top of my career or what I'm doing full time and being a graduate student, but also attending conference like Alice where we met to gain those, to develop myself or professionally, to constantly learning and having meetings with people in the industry. I have a mentor that I meet every other week, and I try to keep myself connected with the industry constantly to learn what's new, what's going on, what's happening, even though a lot of times when people think of higher education, you learn all the basics, but you're not really connected to the real world because you're in the education world. So I made the effort to go to the conference, to connect with people, and that's it takes a lot of time to build those connections, and also a lot of effort and time to say I'm going to dedicate those part of my time to develop myself, like just my personal goals.
Right. Yeah. So you've been working a lot on not just only building the relationships with, people in the part of the industry that you want to go to, but also building your knowledge, and understanding of that part of the industry. What's something you think that you've learned in the process of pursuing this next goal of yours?
So I'm also involved in a competition called She Has the Deal, which is a
Yes.
competition where for women in hotel ownership. There's a lot of people that I met from the conference or throughout my journey in this competition to be able to be the one that sign up. The first step is the hardest that I found. There are a lot of people that's been doing great things. They're doing great in school. People that's my age that's doing whatever they're supposed to do at school, like keep up with their grades and doing all of this thing. But it's that one little step that you initiate that make you difference among others. Is to take the initiatives to say that I'm doing this, I am trying, I'm learning. And I think that's the biggest thing I've learned by taking on those opportunities to do those conferences, go to conferences, to meet with people, just say, hey, I'm a student, I'm learning this. Will you be able to help me throughout the way? It's that it doesn't take much. It's that like a little thing that differentiate you between others.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah, if you take that first step, like then other things follow right behind it. Things start to happen. But for sure, taking that first step takes some courage, right?
Mm-hmm.
That for sure. But yeah, that is a really important lesson that, that's where you start. If you're working towards something, you just need to take the
Yeah.
first step.
Yeah.
Stop thinking about it so much,
Mhm.
right? Just do
And I think this is
it.
the hardest part is, oh, there's so much I have already going on. Should I do this? What if I don't have time? All the stuff, but you just need to make the decision, take the first step.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So we've talked about some of your strengths and unique qualities. Are there others that you want to share with us?
I want to say the biggest thing that I guess the unique thing about me is I'm very adaptability. My adaptability skill is very high, and it's mainly because my education and my background. And so I came to the US when I was 18 to pursue a degree. And moving to a new country that speaks a whole nother language required the ability to quickly adjust to unfamiliar surroundings and cultures and all the systems. Adapting to a new environment and navigating challenges individually shows the capability in thriving in diverse and changing circumstances. And those experiences honed my adaptability skills, and it taught me to be flexible, resourceful, and also resilient in the face of new challenges and opportunities. And also, just think outside of the box, being creative. I actually struggled. It's one of, we say, qualities or strength, but I was struggled when I was a underground when I first came here. So whenever we're in a group discussion, I like when we talk about a case study or question, I always have a very different answer with my team members because the way I think is a little different based on what I've learned, all the different education background. And I started questioning myself. I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't think this way. Maybe I should follow what my other teammates are saying. And then I realized it's not the case because if everybody's thinking the same way, how are you going to improve? You have to have somebody that think outside of the box and gave some new ideas. So I would struggle for a little bit, and then I realized that that's just who I am. I just need to be myself.
Absolutely. I mean, that is so important. I mean, what you're identifying is that sometimes in groups we can kind of get into the situation of group think, right? And where we are all thinking the same and we're not really able to innovate or solve problems because we have too narrow of a view. So definitely don't stop what you're doing, bringing that different perspective, because diverse perspectives is what helps us grow and learn for sure. So I'm glad you gave that example. the other thing you mentioned was being able to adapt. I'm having trouble with words right now. And that with the way the world is changing right now, that is such a critical strength to have, a critical skill to have, for sure. And I think that's going to serve you wherever you go, for sure.
Thank you, Rachel.
What stories or experiences have shaped most who you are today?
So, I'll say there are a couple stories that have or experience that have played a significant role in shaping who I am and how I view the world. I'll give you one of the story. I volunteered at a homeless shelter when I was an undergrad, and I had at first place I had no desire to go to the homeless shelter because I had a stereotypical way of viewing homeless people. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this because I just interested. All my friends are doing it, so I went there, and then interacted with individuals that face homelessness, and it taught me invaluable lessons of empathy. It really did, and resilience and the importance of compassion. Hearing their stories and witness their strength in the face of adversity deeply impacted me, and it instilled a greater sense of gratitude and the desire to make a positive difference in lives of others. And then another experience I think I mentioned this is coming study abroad in a foreign country, immersing myself into a new culture to challenge myself to step outside of the comfort zone, adapt to unfamiliar environments, and that experience has fostered personal growth and to broaden my perspective, and also instilled me a deeper appreciation of cultural differences.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love with both of those examples, by putting yourself in these new experiences, you're gaining a new life perspective, right? Yeah, which brings with it tons of lessons that you can bring along with you. Yeah, those are excellent examples. Can you describe a time in your life when you felt most alive?
That's a really good question. I think there are many moments in my life where I feel alive or fulfilled. One example that comes to my mind is that I made a decision to start donating monthly to an organization called UNICEF on my 21st birthday, and it's called the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund. So it's been a few years since I started, and it's not a very significant contribution each month, but every so often I will receive letters from the staff member along with like pictures of the children benefiting from the program, and just seeing the smiles on the children's face and knowing that my small contribution can provide a child with a clothes or a meal, it's incredibly rewarding. And no matter how tough my day may have been, receiving those letters always brings me a sense of fulfillment, for sure.
That's really important how you point out that it doesn't take a lot to make a contribution to somebody else's life, and it's not always money either, right? I mean, it's just building awareness, giving your time and your energy towards something can be really fulfilling in your life, for sure.
Yeah.
What do you stand for no matter what?
So I think probably mentioned those words in my previous question, but I stand for integrity, empathy, and authenticity. Those are the things that I stand for no matter what changes. Integrity guides my actions and decisions, ensuring that I always do what's morally and ethically right, even in the face of challenging or temptation. Empathy drives my interaction with others, as I believe in treating everyone with kindness, compassion, and understanding, regardless of the different circumstances. And authenticity is I value genuine connections and honest communication, both with myself and with others. And this value serves as a foundation of who I am and how I navigate through the world.
Yeah.
It got me to always stay true to myself, and what I believe it's right.
Yeah. Let's take an example maybe of that one. I think that's really crucial, is the idea of an integrity. Do you have an example where when your integrity was tested and how you handled that situation?
So, say when I was in undergrad, I was a president at a student org, and we are a associate student organization, which means our club mission and vision matches the university's mission and vision, and all the activities that we do have to follow the school's guideline. So, which means that a lot of fun activities that college student wanted to do might not fall under the rules,
right.
of, the club thing. And as the main contact person, I need to make sure that whatever we're doing as a club follows the rules of the university. Maybe the club member may not like the idea of not doing an event, but also you kind of have to be the person to say, hey, maybe we should do something else. I know that we could having other ideas but still have fun, but also following what we're supposed to do, and not that's also when you say you wanted to be inclusive when you're in like a club, you wanted to invite everybody, you don't want to exclude people. So that's also another problem that we might run into, is to say, hey, you're not cool enough to be in your club, or whatever the case may be. But also you have to be open and making sure that there's also you can be true to yourself, but also have fun at the same time.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think what you're pointing out so well is that when it comes to integrity, the role of a leader is to speak up, right? And follow a set of guidelines or, morals, values, and really kind of thinking about those things when decisions are being made.
Sure.
And that's what sets a leader apart from others, right? So yeah, those are great examples. Thank you. When have you underestimated yourself?
I think I do that all the time.
Yeah.
It even happened in Alice when we had the conversation when I was telling you, I didn't think I have enough experience, blah, blah, blah. But when I actually sit down before this podcast, I was thinking through all the things I did, all the stories, all the experience that I had. And I think that a lot of times that I am capable of achieving more than I initially believed it. And it reinforces the importance of pushing that past self-doubt and embracing challenges as opportunities for growth and learning. And I think a lot of times that I still do that. Like sometimes I'll start questioning myself or doubting myself. Okay, maybe I'm not the best person for it. Maybe I couldn't do it. But also just think what you've done or what I've done so far. There are a lot of things I didn't think I could have done. Like if you tell me to go to a whole other country again to do this experience again, I'm scared I probably won't do it. I don't even know how to start. But when you look back, I've done this and I'm capable of doing it.
You have just pointed out such a wonderful strategy for overcoming self-doubt. And that is that idea of self-reflection, taking the time to look back at your achievements and the things that you've gone through that have taught you lessons and the adversity that you've faced, and really reflecting on those experiences. And yeah, we all end up surprising ourselves
Yeah.
about what we've actually done and the
Mhm.
things that we've been through.
Yeah.
Um, so that reflection piece is huge. And as you point out, all of us generally underestimate ourselves, even the most experienced and the people with the highest titles who we think, oh, they never underestimate themselves. Well, they do too. So absolutely. What impact do you strive to have in the travel and hospitality industry?
So I think coming from a background where I like being in a very diverse place, um, and being someone that's having different backgrounds and stories, I think that I am passionate about promoting the diversity and inclusivity,
Mm-hmm.
advocating equal access to opportunities for people with all backgrounds and abilities, facilitate meaningful culture exchange and dialogues, and maybe that mutual understanding and appreciation among people in diverse backgrounds.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is a great example of you living that impact right now, right? Stepping up and saying yes to do a podcast is such a great way to be a role model and to offer your perspectives and your experiences from your diverse background. So I'm really, really thrilled that you were here to do that
Thank
today.
you, Rachel.
What leadership skills do you most rely on for your own leadership in your different areas?
I think there's really only come down to two is effective communication and active listening, making sure that everyone feels valued and respected. That's it.
Yes, period. End of story. 100%.
Yeah.
What's so funny is I'm actually I was just this morning working on one of my workshops that I do in my coaching facilitation, and guess what it was about? Communication and listening. And it's one of those things that we say, it's kind of like a buzzword. We all need to
Yeah.
communicate more effectively, but we don't really know how to do it and we
It's
don't do it
easier.
well.
It's easier to say than doing it for sure. It's one of those things, but also I think listening is more important. Well, my mom always say you have 2 ears and one mouth, so you need to listen before you speak.
Yes. Yes. So when it comes to listening, what are the key factors that you think allows for effective listening?
I think people have we did this when I was in undergrad, where you do like personality tests to see people's different personality, and we do things differently. Like it just naturally doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter your age, you just do things differently. But also is to communicate your end goal and allowing that person to have that space to navigate however they need it to meet your end goal. I think it's more important. You can't say this is the way I'm doing it, so you better follow it. It's not how a leader works. But
Right.
also is to making sure that their voice is heard, making sure
Yeah.
they're respected. That's
Yeah.
more important. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that first part, what I'm understanding is what you're saying is really valuing people's differences and that they may take a different route to get to the end, and really taking the time
Yeah,
to listen to them and what their needs are and what their ideas are on how to meet that objective.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. What vision would you pursue if you had everything you needed to succeed right now?
So it's a good question for somebody who's at a young stage.
Yes, you've got a
But
long way to go, a lot of time ahead of you.
but I think I've always had this in my mind since I started working, is to, if I had everything I needed to success right now at this moment, I will focus on providing education and training program to underserved communities and to give them accessibility and opportunities to learn in areas um, like in entrepreneurship or like vocational skills to people, like to those areas where they don't have the opportunity or they don't even know the things that
Right.
they could do to be more successful. I grew up in China, where there's a lot of people that's like farmers. They live in the village where they will have their own little business or sell their produce, but they don't have any other ways of making it better. They don't know how to do it. So if
Right.
if I have everything that I needed right now at this moment, I will do that. I'll go to give them, or to do something that I can actually provide, is to show them there's other ways of making your life better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that relates back to where we started today, is just about how important it is for you to improve yourself and to constantly be developing yourself. So that makes a lot of sense that it comes back around as the impacts and what you want to do with your purpose.
Sure.
Makes a lot of sense. Well, we are coming to the end of our conversation. This has been wonderful. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us today?
We've talked a lot, and there are some stories that I don't think anybody even know.
Yeah.
So there are some things that even my close friends or loved ones don't even know. So I hope my stories or experience can maybe help others to um, identify some opportunities and to do better.
That's so great. And I can't wait till people hear the episode and get to hear more about you. I've really loved getting to know you today more than our conversation so far allowed. Thank you so much for joining me today, Krystal. It's been great. Until next time, I'm Rachel Vandenberg, and this is the Travel Leader Podcast.